Facile formulas, catchy slogans, 10-step programs, and quick fixes too often dominate today's management training programs. But in organizations, as in all of life, human behavior is seldom predictable, and business dilemmas do not easily lend themselves to gimmicks or simplistic answers. In Management of the Absurd, psychologist, educator, and former CEO Richard Farson presents a series of management paradoxes designed to challenge conventional wisdom and encourage managers to re examine their assumptions about effective leadership. Hi, I'm Ron. This is Sunday, October the 8th. Welcome to Story Time. And today I'm reading chapter 14 from the Management of the Absurd by Richard Farson, and it's called The Best Resource for the Solution of Any Problem is the Person or Group that Presents the Problem. Ex-convicts are better able to rehabilitate prison inmates than is the prison staff. Ex-drug addicts are more successful in getting other addicts off drugs than are psychiatrists. Students learn more from each other than they do from their professors. People tend to be much smarter about their own situations than we give them credit for. After all, a full grasp of any problem is only in the hands of the people who have experienced it. In the early 1940s, when Carl Rogers claimed that people with problems might be in the best position to know what to do about them, the professional world responded with disbelief and ridicule. How could the very people who were suffering from a problem know how to solve it? This idea was heresy to professionals trained to think that problems could be solved only by bringing to bear their own analytic ability and therapeutic skills. But this idea has since gained acceptance in practically every professional area, including management. It is not practiced uniformly, of course, because sometimes experts can help, and people are not always the best judges of their own situations. Nevertheless, Rogers' belief, which is at one time seemed absurd, now has wide currency. Community planners, for example, recognize the efficacy of involving the people for whom the plans are being made in each stage of the process. It leads not only to wider acceptance of a plan, but improves it, because these people often have a keen awareness of issues that professionals have not fully assessed. The clearest validation of this approach is the proliferation of self-help groups. Alcoholics Anonymous, the most famous of these groups that meet without professional leadership, clearly has a better record of keeping people away from alcohol than the professions dedicated to that effort. There are now thousands of self-help organizations reaching many millions of people, ranging from Weight Watchers to Parents Without Partners to Gamblers Anonymous. Each of them demonstrates the power of people who are themselves beset with problems and yet are able to help each other in ways that the professionals have not yet learned to do. We can rely on people in this way because within all of us lies a mastery of roles that we rarely, if ever, play. Each requiring complex skills we have somehow learned through the natural course of our own lives. This is the basic reason why managers can become effective even though they may never have had a day of formal training. They already know how. Widely approved, seldom practiced. Participative management involving the people who know how to do the work in the decisions that will affect them is based upon the idea that people are better than we think they are and can be counted on to make wise choices. A considerable amount of research shows that people learn faster, produce more, and are more highly motivated when participative methods are employed. The challenge for management is to know how to tap this powerful resource. No one knows the ceiling of performance when the proper expectations are introduced and the appropriate social architecture is in place. But here's another paradox. While the participative approach is widely agreed to be effective, it is seldom put into practice. Companies experiment with it, but few employ participative management in a continuing, organization-wide manner. Why is that so? One answer, of course, is that managers do not like to demean their own expertise by assuming that the group can do it better. But there are other reasons too. Participative management depends on trusting the group. Most managers simply don't have that confidence and can't take the time to develop that trust. Even when groups are consulted, they don't always believe in themselves and so may resist the idea of involvement. And let's face it, it can take an inordinate amount of time and patience to develop a group that can practice this kind of management. One must have the patience of a saint to sit through meetings where the group may spend 30 minutes talking about the coffee machine. Companies also stumble by pursuing participative management ideas that are overly simplistic and do not acknowledge the complexities of organizational behavior. Many companies fail to recognize that the participative approach requires a somewhat different leader who is tuned into the undercurrents and the hidden agendas that accompany any meeting. Finally, managers who experiment with these methods often open themselves up to abuse. Groups that are testing their leaders' ability to hear what they are saying or to accept their ideas can humiliate the leaders by resisting attempts to evoke participation. In such situations, managers who try to elicit ideas often become the focus of the group's complaints. Sometimes there is even open hostility. Mary Douglas, the noted British anthropologist, once explained to me that some systems are importantly different from hierarchical systems, not just in the way that risks are assessed and decisions made, but also in the ways peoples are treated. The introduction of highly participating systems tends to bring attacks on the stronger members, often the leaders, while more hierarchical systems bring attacks on the weaker members. I remember consulting at a university in which the provost of one of the colleges was committed to a participating approach. All matters that needed deciding were brought before the students and faculty. The entering freshmen were impressed that they could express themselves so freely that they could challenge the provost, even use obscenities with him, and get away with it. It was so exhilarating to the young people that they neglected to appreciate the debilitating effect on the provost. Each incoming class would go through somewhat the same ritual, testing and abusing the leader. Over a period of a couple of years, I witnessed the gradual wearing down of the provost, who had undertaken the experiment with unbridled energy and enthusiasm. He resigned his post in the third year, and the program reverted to a traditional form. Conserving the human resources. That experience is one of many that led me to take what I would call a conservation of resources approach to consulting with groups. I now tend to begin my consultation by asking the group to identify its most valuable resources, typically human resources, usually the group leader and the most creative individuals in the group. Then I explore with the group the ways these resources could be protected, enhanced, and conserved. More often than not, the group will realize on its own that these individuals require expression of appreciation, recognition, even some deference. The group itself will often come up with ways to respect the special needs of these individuals. For example, understanding that at times they need to be able to close their doors or to work unusual hours. Instead of complaining about the leadership styles, work habits, or idiosyncrasies of its colleagues, the group designs ways to accommodate them. The process provides a foundation on which to build discussion of more fundamental issues. And that is the end of chapter 14, and that is the best resource for the solution of any problem is the person or group that presents the problem. And on Tuesday, October the 10th, I will be getting into Part 5, Organizational Predicaments, and Chapter 15, Organizations that need help most will benefit from it least. And I will again be commenting and critiquing these chapters on my blog, which is www.ronaldhardgrove.blogspot.com. So until Tuesday the 10th, thank you for joining me and have a great day.